Okay, so basically, the topic we are going to start today is by our syllabus, it is the eye. But I would like to mention here that we have been talking about the stimulus, then the receptor, then we talked about the coordinator, then we said that there are effectors, and then we said there is response. The About the coordinator, we said the brain is the coordinator. The effectors are either muscles, as I have already told you, or the effectors are the glands. The problem is, like, obviously, as I said, the stimulus would be received at the receptor. So if the stimulus is being received at the receptor, it clearly means that there there have to be multiple types of receptors. Why am I saying this? For this purpose, try to understand about the stimuli. Suppose if I tell you, you have to feel the touch, the pressure, and the pain at the same point of your skin. How do you do it?
Mm, if you want to feel the same pressure on the skin
No, no, no.
as the
I want to say that the point of the skin should remain same, but three different stimuli should be received at that point. Three different. One stimulus touch, second pain, third is pressure. How would you uh, make it happen?
so if I like just press down like that on my arm, is that
Okay,
what you mean?
let's say, yeah, yeah. Let's say
Or like
we
a
just put,
pencil.
yeah, you can just put the pencil, just you can say that place the pencil on your skin. Don't press it. Just place the pencil on the top of your finger. That obviously is a touch. Now, when you press it, it would be the pressure. But when it would start hurting you, it's now pain.
Mm, okay. So it can
That
be all
is,
three at the same time.
yeah. The thing is, what is making them different? Obviously, we have different receptors for touch, we have different receptors for pressure, and we have different receptors for pain. Suppose, let me tell you a small example that would make you clear, make the things very clear. We have the pressure receptors deep in our skin. Why do you think is that?
So that like you have a higher pain tolerance. So if it was
No.
like
Okay, okay, please
like
keep
it
on.
was closer to the skin, for example, then even like
Mhm.
touching something really lightly could hurt.
You can say that if they would have been closer to the skin, even a touch would feel like a pressure. So, what does it mean? It means that the pressure should only be felt when you have something pressing against your skin. Suppose sit, when we sit, we feel a pressure on our muscles. Why? Because our body is pressing against the chair or whatever we are sitting on. Similarly, when I am, when suppose you are just sitting on your chair and trying to write down something, and you just feel a slight irritation on your skin, and you get startled that it might be an insect. Now, what is that? That is not the pressure, that is a touch. The thing is that the same point, but different stimuli means that everywhere we have receptors that would differentiate between the stimuli. receptors that would differentiate between the stimuli. Suppose a small example, then we'll come back to our um, main topic. How many types of tastes are there?
Like, you mean spicy, sweet, sour, bitter, like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
Now,
spicy, salty, sour, bitter.
is the organ changing?
No.
No, the organ is tongue, right? The organ is tongue, but the same organ is feeling different types of stimuli just because of the receptors, and those receptors are called as taste buds. You can apply the same example to the nose. You can, in your imagination, bring out many examples. I'm just moving on to the topic. Now, there is a particular stimulus that you would only feel at a very dedicated point of your skin. Sorry, at the very dedicated point of your body. The stimulus is the light, and the receptor is the eye. Eye basically is one of the few organs totally dedicated as a receptor, totally working as a receptor. Otherwise, you can say skin may have many functions. Even the nose may have more than one function. Like you can say, the nose can work as an air purifier. Like it can trap the dust and dust particles and microorganisms, and smell the work for the olfaction. The ears work to receive the sound as well as the balance of the body. But the eye is one of the few, or in a sense, the only organ that is totally working as a receptor. Okay. So, one thing we have established over here, that eye is a receptor organ. And we know very well that if we try to understand an organ, to understand an organ, um, we should be able to, we study about the tissues. We study about the tissues present in it, because organs are made of tissues. So the tissues are important in this way. So obviously we are going to talk about the tissue arrangement. A very important thing that I would mention over here is that we are going to section the eye to study it, and the sectioning of eye is done in a longitudinal way. I hope you know what it is. We'll take the longitudinal section of the eye. All right, so now we'll be talking about only one side. Remember one thing, that eye basically has three tissue layers. Three tissue layers mainly. Remember that there might be some layers that are also present in the eye, but the main function of the eye is performed by three layers. So let's say, what are those layers? Let's see. Okay, before that, let me show you a 3D model of human eye so that things can be very much clearer. This is the complete eye, obviously. So uh, we can scroll downward to see whether they have shown the proper section of the eye. Yeah. Why am I selecting this? Because we are going to study a model like this. So that is why.
Okay.
So this kind of model we'll be talking about. And even you can see in this picture that you have a white outer layer, then the red, and then the orange one. And you can see this translucent thing is the lens. And you can also notice here that you have very strange arrangement of what it seems like the wires, or the, you can say, uh,
Your voice is cut out. Hello. Yeah, I think a lot got cut out because
hello.
the last thing you said was you can say.
Okay, I guess the
Yeah.
voice is lagging. Hold on. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so basically, I was saying that the connecting rope like things you can see over here, then some strange layer over here, and another blue layer, a very strange blue layer over here. This is basically that layer that would determine the color of the eye. Okay, moving on. So we'll try to draw a picture, and then we'll try to get back to this model to understand what basically is it saying and what are different parts. Okay, so let's try drawing the eye. Whoops, hold on. Okay, we have to balance it a bit. Almost there. Okay, the placement of the eye, the part of the skull where the eye is placed is called as eye orbit. I guess you had the knowledge about it, the eye orbit. But the thing is that um, does the eye only is it like just placed in the eye orbit, or is there any other layer above it? Remember that the eye under the skin is connected to a layer called as conjunctiva with rich blood supply. If you want to see the conjunctiva, just fold your eyelid, or just take out your lower eyelid and fold it downward. You will see the red layer. That is the conjunctiva. So if I tell you properly, basically this is how the conjunctiva is supposed to be present, like this. Like you can simply say the region outside the conjunctiva is the one that we can see. It is the one that we can see. Now, the outermost layer of the eye that you are looking at, this outermost layer of the eye before conjunctiva, it is called as the sclera. But once it is out of the conjunctiva, it is called as the cornea. You can say the white of the eye. The white of the eye is the cornea. I'll try to label very carefully because it has a lot of labelings. Cornea. And this whole region, remember this whole region when the conjunctiva is finished, the whole part is the cornea. And the cornea basically have a bump just in front of the eye. Just in front of the eye, it has a bump. So obviously this part is also included in the cornea. Okay. Um, then when you talk about when you say that like the sclera is the outermost tissue layer, and when the sclera is out of the conjunctiva, it is called as cornea. And when you try to closely look at the eye, you will notice that behind the cornea, you have a very particular collection of some muscles. Very particular collection of muscles. These are the muscles. These muscles are responsible for something very interesting. Before that, let me guide you that this is the point of entry of light. These are the light waves, and through the cornea, the light is going to enter. Now, these muscles, they have a very particular function. Before telling you that function, the region that you see between these muscles, this region is called as the pupil. The pupil is the exact point from where the light enters. From where the light enters. Now, the pupil is actually adjustable. Why do you think it would be adjustable? Why do you think the pupil would be adjustable?
Um, Maybe to what do you call it? So that if you're looking for short-sightedness and long-sightedness, basically, so that you can
Okay.
focus on something, or you can, like, maybe if you want to look further, or if you want to focus on something.
All right. Um, if I say that if very intense light enters into your eye, it would damage your eye.
Yeah.
What do you think the role of the pupil in that case?
So maybe to adjust to reduce the impact of the light as much as possible.
Actually, yes. When we say that the pupil is adjustable, it basically means that you are adjusting the light entry to avoid any damage to retina, the very important layer of the eye, to avoid any damage to retina, and you can increase the size of the pupil. Increase the size of the pupil. That would be when you would be in the dark, so that you can receive the maximum light. Another thing you read about when we were talking about the adrenaline, we said that the pupils dilate when the adrenaline is released. The pupils dilate. Why? Because actually we try to gather as much light as we can when the adrenaline is in high amounts and we are in emergency conditions. So now the pupil adjustment is actually called as pupil reflex. Now, why do we call it the pupil reflex?
because it's a natural reaction that the pupil
Okay,
makes.
anything else? I told you a very particular word related to the reflexes.
The coordination, the control.
Involuntary.
Mm, okay.
We cannot control it. Okay. Now the pupil reflex is actually controlled by the muscles called as iris muscles. Iris muscles. When you go back to the slide, these these black colored muscles, these are called as iris muscles. There are, if you try to look at the pupil, it looks like this. This is a dilated pupil, although I have dilated a bit too much. And this is the contracted pupil. Now, obviously, you have to think about it. Suppose that this is a rubber band. Have you ever like played with the rubber band?
So your voice cut. Um,
Okay,
I didn't hear the
so
last bit.
is it fine now?
Yeah, it's clear.
Suppose that this particular thing is a rubber band.
Yeah,
If you try to, have you ever played with the rubber band?
yeah,
When you try to open a rubber band, you cannot do it with a single finger. You wear the rubber band almost around your two, three, four, or all five fingers, and you start expanding your fingers.
yeah.
And the inner diameter of the rubber band would start increasing. Am I right?
Yes.
Suppose that you do the same thing but pull it from the outside. You do the same thing but pull this rubber band from the outside. Like, would the result be same or there would be anything different?
So it would be
You are,
stretching then if you pull it
yeah,
outwards.
yeah. So basically, we were doing the same thing when we wore the rubber band around all our fingers, and we started expanding our fingers. We were stretching the rubber band from the inside. But now we are stretching the rubber band from outside. The result is same. It would stretch or it would expand, its diameter would enlarge.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, suppose that uh, there is the same thing would happen with the help of specific muscles called as radial muscles. Radial muscles are those, basically they pull the pupil outward like a stretching rubber band, like a stretching rubber band. So when they would pull the pupil outward like a stretching rubber band, it would become dilated, it would expand. Now let's see. Let's do another thing. Suppose that you have You have very large pupil. This is a dilated pupil, and you want to make it narrower. What you are going to do? You would be you can say you would be pushing it now from outside. You would be pushing it now from outside. All right. Now, although I'm not in a very good appearance, let's open the camera. Let me show you what I mean here. Okay, look at my hand. Suppose that this is the inner side is the pupil. The inner empty side is the pupil. Now, what you do?
Yeah.
You start contracting your finger and you make the inner circle as much smaller as you can.
Okay.
Similarly, similarly, what would you do? You would push this is the pupil. You would push the pupil from outside, and ultimately the pupil would become narrower. The pupil would become contracted or narrower. This kind of thing, for this kind of thing, we would be using special muscles called as circular muscles. Circular muscles. Now, how these muscles are arranged, be very careful while listening to me. Suppose this is the pupil. This is the pupil. The circular muscles would be present like this. The circular muscles would be present like this, while the radial muscles would be present like this. Now, try to think what I have explained over here. When the radial muscles would contract, they would pull it out. They would pull it out, stretching the pupil, expanding it, dilating it. But when the circular muscles now, sorry, I forgot to mention, let's say the green mentioned the circular ones, while the blue mentions the radial ones. The circular ones, when they would contract, they would contract or dilate the constrict the pupil. Constrict the pupil. All right. Let's make a table for it. Let's make a table for it. Let's say first column I would make light intensity. Light intensity. First light intensity is high. Just hold on. All right. So muscles that contract. Next column, muscles that relax. Now this is amazing. This is surprising because I haven't told you before. Uh, Result. By result, I mean size of pupil and um, light falling on the retina, on retina. Okay, you can say this is your response. This is your stimulus, and these are your effectors. See, matching it to the topic of coordination. These are your effectors. Okay, and this whole thing is your response. This whole thing is your response. So let's say first the stimulus is high light intensity, muscles that contract. Now, what you need to do here in high light intensity, I really I should have mentioned it here. Okay, pupil should constrict. Pupil should constrict. I forgot to mention what should happen. Pupil should constrict. If the pupil should constrict, then the muscles that would contract would be the circular one. And the muscles that would relax would be the radial ones. The result would be constricted pupil leading to uh, a moderate light falling on retina, on retina. Is it understandable?
Yes.
Suppose you are in the dark or there's low light intensity. What should happen now? Now the pupil should dilate. The pupil should dilate to capture maximum light. Now circular muscles would relax and the radial muscles would contract. Sorry, hold on. Contraction would be in the radial muscles, while relaxation would occur in the circular muscles. Result would be a dilated size of the pupil, leading to more light would fall on the retina. On retina. So that basically is the effect. And one thing that you should conclude from here is a very good example of antagonistic muscles. Can you tell me what is the meaning of antagonizing?
Something that's like what do you call it? Basically, it causes an area or someone to become hostile or angry, like
Antagonizing
provoking.
basically means opposing. Antagonizing means that you are opposing someone in an aggressive way. Basically, it means that. But we say that these muscles are totally antagonizing each other because they are doing exactly opposite to the same thing with respect to the stimulus. The main object on which the response is being shown is the size of the pupil, but the set of muscles are uh, acting differently. So that is basically the result of the working of the cornea and the iris muscles. Everything clear?
Yes.
Moving on, the next layer is on the inside, and this layer is called as This layer is called as choroid. And this layer has very particular muscles in it. And these muscles are called as ciliary muscles. They appear like cilia. That is why called as ciliary muscles. Appear like cilia. And let me show you where how would they look. First of all, try to see this. These are the iris muscles, and it is the iris muscles that would determine the color of your eye. Iris muscles. And then um, if you go in the background, if you move in the background of it, these are the muscles that I'm saying would look like the ciliary muscles. This is the set of muscles. Got it? This is the set of muscles. The
Yeah,
red one,
yeah.
this one, all around the lens. What is this white rope? White rope like thingy. So let's say, remember that in between these muscles, we have our lens located. And remember about our lens, the lens is convex. Okay, what is the working difference between the convex and the concave mirror lens?
So the convex lens is the one shaped like an oval, right?
Yes. And what's the
Uh,
function of it?
yeah, like when you put it in the glasses, it's to cure, I think, short-sightedness. Sorry,
Uh,
far-sightedness.
yes. The
And
general principle of the convex lens is that it would converge the light to a particular point.
yeah, and the concave then helps with short-sightedness.
Yes, it would diverge the light. Anyways, so now this lens is suspended. What is the meaning of something that is suspended?
That is hanging from there, or it's
Hmm,
just left
hmm,
there.
hmm. It is hanging. Basically, the lens is hanging with the rope like things, and these things are named as suspensory ligaments. Suspensory ligaments. And you see these white spring like ropes, these are suspensory ligaments, and they are strictly attached to the muscles. Okay, now you have to understand very important thing. The ligaments are tissues, very hard, but they are non-contractile, meaning that they cannot contract or relax. If you would stretch them, they would stretch. If you would try to loosen them up, they would be loosen up, meaning that they cannot contract or get loosen up on their own. They are just like ropes. If you okay, if there is a rope attached to some point and you pull it towards yourself, would it stretch?
Yes.
Obviously. But if you just leave it, it would loosen up, right?
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, now you have to understand a few things are very important, and this is the last thing that is technical. See, when you try to understand the phenomena that is occurring there, first of all, let's talk about the ciliary muscles. When we say ciliary muscles, The ciliary muscle is present like this. Or another form of ciliary muscles is present, they are present like this. In one shape, I'm shading the part of the ciliary muscle. In one shape, the ciliary muscle has a direction that is upward. And in the other shape, the ciliary muscles have the direction that is downward. Okay, remember that if the shaded part is the ciliary muscle, it is relaxed. The position of the ciliary muscle in which it would pose upward, it is the relaxed state. And the direction of the ciliary muscle in which they are posed downward is the contracted state. Okay, now if you focus here, down here you have your lens. I'm not drawing the complete lens right now. This is your lens. And the lens is attached to the ciliary muscles with the help of the special ligaments that I have named. And what are those? Suspensory ligaments. Is it understood? Till here?
Yeah, understood.
Hmm. Then let's draw the picture, the other picture. I'm drawing complete muscle here, complete lens here. These are the same suspensory ligaments, and this is the same lens. Don't worry, I'm not talking yet. Now, what is happening here? The thing that is happening over here, that the shape of the lens for uh, to observe something, to observe something that is present far apart, we need to make our lens thinner or less convex. Now, in this picture, you can see your lens is thinner. It is less convex. It is thinner. And you can capture all the light. You can capture all the light that is scattering. Suppose the light is scattering like this. When you try to observe the objects far apart, you need to make the lens less convex. For that purpose, you have to relax your ciliary muscles so that they move upward. They move upward. You have to tighten the suspensory ligaments. Obviously, when the ciliary muscles would move upward, they would tighten the suspensory ligaments, leading to a thin lens. You can see it over here. Is it understandable?
Yeah, it's understandable.
But now, when you are trying to observe an object that is closely placed, now what would you do? You would contract the ciliary muscles. Previously, I said uh, you would have to relax. Now you would contract the ciliary muscles. It basically means you would move them downward. Move them downward. Your uh, your suspensory ligaments would become would be would lose, and your lens would become thicker or more convex. More convex. That is to see the object that is very closely placed. You can very clearly see what is happening here. Okay, let's do an experiment. Hold your pen very close to your eyes.
Yeah,
Okay, like if try looking at the object that is quite far away from you, maybe behind you or something like that,
but
that is
I
quite far away
focus,
from.
but I focus on the pencil.
Yeah, you focus on the pencil, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, when you focus on the pencil, everything behind that pencil becomes blurry.
yeah,
Why do you think? Just okay, remove it. Why do you think is that? Because your lens was thicker, it was more convex, it was focusing on your pen.
yeah,
But now take that pen and do it again. But now don't concentrate on the pen, concentrate on anything that is exact in front of the pen,
yeah,
maybe the screen.
yeah. The screen is clear and the
The screen
pencil
is
is
clear now.
blurred.
Yes. Reason? Because the lens shape is now changed and it is now thinner. It is now thinner, you cannot see it clearly. There is the principle, and this particular thing is called as accommodation. This particular phenomena is called as accommodation, and it is also reflexive. It is also reflexive. Obviously, you did not do it on your own. You just change the change your focus. If you take the same pencil, and I can make you feel that your muscle contraction is happening. If you take the same pencil, just widen up your arm, just stretch your arm to the maximum. Take the pencil again, stretch your arm to the maximum,
Yeah,
and slightly bring it closer to your eyes in a way that it would land on your nose. You would see that something is like there is some sort of pressure inside your eyes.
yeah,
That is muscle contraction. Because when you were looking at the thing that was quite far away from you, when you were looking at the thing that was quite far away from you, your muscles were relaxed. Okay, let's do this practice again. You placed the pen this much farther. It is now, right now, quite farther. Your muscles, your ciliary muscles are right now totally relaxed. Maybe not totally, but they are relaxed. Now, when you bring it closer and you make it land on your nose, you would clearly you would clearly see, you would clearly feel that your muscles are contracting,
yeah,
and that is the accommodation. And Why the people, why the old people have difficulty looking at the objects closer to them? Because their muscles are not contracting properly. When their muscles don't contract properly, they cannot see closer object, because to see closer object you need to contract your ciliary muscles. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Good. So accommodation is done, and this is the work that would be done. By now you can see what is happening here. Basically, you can easily see what is happening here. Uh, this translucent thing. Okay, don't focus here. This is cornea. The bendy, the curvy region is the cornea. This is the lens. This is your lens, and the white ones, sorry, the white ones are your suspensory ligaments, and these are your ciliary muscles. And you can adjust your, accommodate your lens according to the field of view. Okay, coming back to the diagram of eye, the last layer that you would see over here is the retina. Oops. Okay. This layer is called as retina, and actual layer that contain photoreceptors. There is no like photoreceptors are not present here. Sorry, photoreceptors are not present in any other layer. No doubt, all the other layers are helping our our eye to focus the light. But remember that the real photoreceptor cells are located inside the retina. The retina has two regions. First of all, let's talk about the photoreceptors. There are two types of photoreceptors. Actually, the cell photoreceptors are the cells sensitive to light. Sensitive to light. You might also already know their names. One type of cells are called as rods, and the others are called as the cones. The rods are basically they would sensitive to bright light, and the cones are sensitive to colors. Sensitive to colors. Remember that if a person, if you only talk about rods, you would not talk about the colors, because the cones are only photoreceptors that would be responsible for assessment of the colors. The cones are, there are three main cones actually: red, blue, green. Actually, these are cells. Remember that these are cells, and these are pigments. All these are pigments. Pigment, what is a pigment?
Something that would give it something color, a specific
That
color.
would give, yeah, color. These pigments by nature are proteins. So whenever you are trying to see the color, you basically use the cones. The cones they shape like this. The cone cells are literally like this. That is why they are called as cones. And the rods are like this. Rods are like this. So the cones, um, these are the pigments that you would find in the cones, and different combination and concentration of the colors in the cones would make you able to see different colors. So that is not very difficult to know that how the cones would work. But to know that how the rod would work is important. Let me first see that whether they are demanding the work of the rods or not. Oh, hang on. I opened the wrong file. This is I. Pupil and retina, optic nerve, pupil reflex, accommodation, distribution of rods and cones, outline the focus, function of rods and cones, greater sensitivity, rods and of cones, identify diagrams in the middle. Okay, it means that they are not basically too much demanding too much explanation. I'll explain it a bit. Actually, the rods contain a very specific pigment that is named as rhodopsin. Remember that rhodopsin is only made during low light or when you are in a dark room. When you are in a dark room. And the rhodopsin would be washed out when there is bright light. Because remember, in bright light, you would see the things with the help of color. And there is bright light. In bright light, we see with the help of tones or colors. So we don't no more need the rhodopsin or the rods. Remember, the rhodopsin is the pigment. How is it made? You can say that there is a pigment called as pre-rhodopsin. When there is dark and you have sufficient vitamin A, the pre-rhodopsin would be converted to rhodopsin and you would be able to observe in the dark. Let me put you through an example. Have you ever experienced that when you are sleeping or when you are laying down the bed and the air condition LED is on?
Yeah,
You can almost observe everything in the room.
yeah,
You can see everything in the room when there is no other light. Why is that? Because your rhodopsin is activated that time and it would make you able to see in the dark. Okay, one another rule we need to know, not about the rhodopsin. The cones are highly concentrated at the point exact opposite to lens. This point is also called as yellow spot or fovea. The rods are concentrated in the peripheral region. What is the meaning of peripheral region? Like this, the rest of the region, other than the fovea, is the peripheral. So basically, when you go back, all the light would be, the lens would try to focus the light over here. Obviously, some of the light may go out of it, but this particular point is the fovea. This one. This one is the fovea. All right. So now the last thing that is required to be mentioned is this. This is basically the optic nerve that is taking the impulses to the eye. And a very thick nerve this is. It would take many sensory neurons towards the brain. It is optic nerve. And remember that this point, okay, now I'm circling this point. This point is devoid of any rods and cones. Any rods and cones. And this point is called as the blind spot. Because if the light falls on this point, if the light falls on this point, no picture would be made. Since there is no photoreceptor, because photoreceptors are necessary to create an image. But if the light falls on the blind spot where no rods and cones are present, there would be no image formed and you would not be able to see anything, which means that this is the blind spot. I hope it's clear.
Yeah, it's clear.
So, this topic is covered. We are finished with the topic of eye. And this is basically something you can say very interesting, very not difficult. One thing that you may feel difficult a bit, it is actually the labelings that might be felt a bit